The massive council hall buzzed with hundreds of different voices. Aliens of every shape and size filled the curved seats that rose up like steps around the central floor. Some had scales that caught the light. Others looked like walking crystals. A few floated in tanks of strange liquid. All of them were talking about the same thing: what to do with humans. Jiho Kim sat alone at the small table marked Earth Representative. His black hair was starting to turn gray at the sides. His face showed no emotion as he listened to Speaker. After Speaker stand up and explain why humans were too dangerous to be allowed in galactic space. "The humans are unpredictable," hissed Ambassador Veltar of the Velkari. His snake-like body coiled around the speaking platform. "They make decisions based on feelings instead of logic. This makes them a threat to galactic peace." Murmurs of agreement filled the hall. Jiho wrote something on his tablet but said nothing. Next came Representative Clixanth, whose crystal body rang like bells when she moved. "The Thrush Collective has studied human behavior for 50 years. They start fights over small disagreements. They cannot control their emotions. They refuse to follow proper diplomatic procedures." More voices joined in agreement. The Mordani delegate spoke about human military aggression. The Ythul representative complained about human traders who would not follow standard business practices. One by one, they all said the same thing: humans were too wild, too emotional, too different to be trusted with the freedom to travel between stars. Jiho kept taking notes. Sometimes he would look up and make eye contact with a speaker. But he never stood up to argue or defend his species. He just listened and wrote. Finally, Speaker Prime Zulgorak called for the vote. The ancient being's four arms gestured to the massive display that would show the results. "We now vote on Resolution 4429, the Human Containment Protocol. This resolution will limit human expansion to their home system and 3 current colony worlds. No human vessel will be permitted to travel beyond these boundaries without special council permission." The display lit up as votes came in from across the galaxy. Green lights meant yes votes for the containment. Red lights meant no votes against it. Yellow lights meant abstaining from the vote. Jiho watched the numbers climb. Green, 100, 200. 300, 400. The red number stayed at 0 for a long time. Then it jumped to 1 when Earth's vote registered. Yellow held steady at a few dozen worlds that chose not to vote either way. The final count appeared: 847 votes for containment, 1 vote against, 27 abstentions. Speaker Prime Zulgorka's voice boomed across the hall. Resolution 4429 passes by. Overwhelming majority. The Human Containment Protocol is now galactic law. Cheers erupted from many sections of the hall. Some aliens clapped with hands, others clicked with claws, and a few made musical sounds that meant celebration in there. Cultures. Jiho stood up slowly. His chair made a small scraping sound against the floor. The noise was tiny in the huge hall, but somehow it cut through all the celebrating. Aliens began to quiet down as they noticed the human ambassador on his feet. He picked up his tablet and the small bag that held his few personal items. Then he looked up at Speaker Prime Zulgorak. "Humanity accepts the Council's decision," Jiho said. His voice was calm and clear. It carried well in the now silent hall. "We will comply with all terms of the containment protocol." He bowed slightly, a gesture of respect from human culture. Then he turned and walked toward the exit. His footsteps echoed in the silence. Every alien eye in the hall watched him go. Some expected him to turn around and make an angry speech. Others thought he might plead for the council to reconsider. A few wondered if he would threaten them with human military power, but Jiho Kim just walked to the door, pressed his hand to the exit panel, and left the hall. The door slid shut behind him with a soft hiss. The aliens sat in confused silence for several minutes. They had prepared for human anger, for threats, for dramatic speeches about injustice. They had not prepared for quiet acceptance. Within hours, the news spread across the galaxy. Humans were contained. The dangerous, unpredictable species would be locked in their corner of space where they could not cause trouble for civilized worlds, but something else was spreading. Just as fast, orders from Earth. On Station Beta Centauri. Human Admiral Unisong received a message that made her close her eyes and take a deep breath. Then she activated the station's communication system. All human personnel, this is Admiral Song. Prepare for immediate evacuation. We are going home. On the trade world of New Shanghai, Merchant Captain Minho Park was loading his ship when his personal communicator chimed. The message was short. Pack everything. Leave nothing behind. Come home. He looked around at the busy spaceport where humans had traded alongside aliens for 30 years. Then he called his crew. Change of plans, we're heading back to Earth. In the research labs of the Joint Science Facility on Kepler Station, Dr. Hana Lee saved her work to a secure drive and began shutting down her experiments. Her alien colleagues asked where she was going. Home, she said simply. I'm going home. The exodus began immediately. Human diplomats quietly packed their offices and said polite goodbyes. Human traders finished their current deals and declined new contracts. Human researchers backed up their data and transferred their projects to alien colleagues who looked confused and concerned. There were no protests, no angry speeches, no threats of war or economic retaliation. Humans simply began leaving galactic civilization behind. Some aliens tried to convince humans to stay. A few even apologized for the vote. But the humans were polite and firm. The Council had made its decision. Humanity would respect that decision. Within a week, human passenger ships were arriving at every human outpost beyond Earth system. The ships took on crowds of people and their belongings. Families who had lived on alien worlds for generations packed up their entire lives and headed back to worlds they had never seen. The alien traders who had worked with humans for decades watched in growing worry. Humans bought many things from galactic markets. More importantly, humans were some of the most reliable and honest traders in space. Their departure would leave gaps in many business relationships, but the political leaders who had voted for containment told these traders not to worry. The galaxy had managed without humans before first contact. It would manage fine without them now, 2 weeks after the vote. The last human transport ship left the final human outpost beyond the containment zone. Captain Jiwan Nam watched the alien space station shrink behind her ship as they jumped to hyperspace. Her passengers were quiet, looking out the windows at the galaxy they were leaving behind. Captain, her communications officer said, we're receiving a message from Earth Control. Put it on speakers, Jiwan said. A familiar voice filled the bridge. It was Jiho Kim, the ambassador who had walked out of the council hall. To all humans returning from galactic space, welcome home. Your service to humanity in foreign lands is complete. Rest, recover, and prepare for what comes next. The galaxy thinks it has contained us. The galaxy is wrong, the message ended. Captain Nam looked out at the stars and smiled. The galaxy had made a mistake. They thought humans would be upset about being contained. They thought humans would spend their time complaining and trying to change the council's mind. They were wrong. Humans had accepted the decision, but acceptance did not mean surrender. It meant something much more dangerous. It meant humans were going to use their time alone to become something the galaxy had never seen before. 2 years had passed since the day Jiho Kim walked out of the Galactic Council. Captain Minho Park guided his cargo ship through the asteroid field that hid New Sol Station. The massive space station hung in the darkness like a small metal moon. It was one of the last human outposts, and today would be his final supply run. Minho docked his ship and walked through the station's corridors. The walls were lined with pictures of Earth, Mars, and the other human colonies. Children ran past him, playing games and speaking Korean mixed with standard galactic. These kids had been born in space, but now they would grow up knowing only human worlds. Captain Park, Station Commander Daeun Ko waved him over to the Central Command Center. The large windows showed the asteroid field and the empty space beyond. Right on time, we have everything ready for transport. Minho looked at the lists on her tablet. Medical supplies, rare metals, computer parts, and personal belongings from the last families leaving the station. This is really it then? The Last run? Dan nodded. Next week, this station will be empty. The automated systems will take over and seal it up. She pointed to a display showing a map of human space. Dr. Lee's project is almost complete. Once it's online, we'll be truly alone. Dr. Hannah Lee was working in a laboratory deep inside the station. Around her, dozens of screens showed data streams and technical drawings. She was putting the finishing touches on Project Firewall, the defense network that would surround all human space. Status report, she said to her assistant, Dr. Sunho Choi. The final satellites are in position, Sunho replied. We now have complete coverage around Earth, Mars, Titan, New Korea, and all the mining stations. Any ship approaching human space will be detected long before they reach our worlds. Hannah studied the display that showed the entire network. Thousands of small satellites formed an invisible wall around human territory. They were not weapons. They were simply watchers and messengers. What happens when an alien ship tries to enter? She asked. They receive a polite message, Sunho explained. The system identifies their species and language, then broadcasts a simple statement: human space is closed. Please respect our boundaries. If they keep coming, the message repeats. If they continue to approach, their ship's navigation systems are gently disabled and they are guided back to the edge of our space. No violence, Sunho confirmed. We simply turn them around and send them home. The galaxy wanted us contained. We're just helping them enforce their own rules. 3 months later, the first alien ship approached the new border. It was a Valkyrie exploration vessel looking for new trade routes. The ship's captain, Silthaner, was surprised when his communications system activated on its own. Greetings, Valkyrie vessel, came a calm human voice in perfect Valkyrie language. You are approaching the boundary of human space. Human space is closed by order of Galactic Council Resolution 4429. Please respect our boundaries and change course. Captain Silthaner tried to respond, but the message just repeated. He ordered his ship to continue forward, curious about what the humans had built. As they crossed an invisible line in space, his ship's engines suddenly stopped working. What's happening? He demanded from his engineering crew. The engines are fine, sir, his chief engineer reported. They're just not responding to our commands, and sir, we're moving backwards. The ship was indeed being pushed gently away from human space by invisible force fields. The process was so smooth that the crew barely felt it. Within an hour, they were back outside the boundary, and their engines worked normally again. Fascinating, Silthaner muttered. Then he turned his ship around and headed back to galactic space. He had a report to write. Similar encounters happened dozens of times over the following months. Alien ships would approach human space out of curiosity or by accident. They would receive the same polite message and the same gentle escort back to where they came from. No human ships were seen. No human voices except for the automated warnings. To the galaxy, it seemed like humans had simply vanished behind their wall, but inside human space, things were far from quiet. Admiral Yuna Song stood in the command center of the new military headquarters on Mars. Around her, officers worked at stations that looked nothing like standard galactic technology. The screens showed information in ways that alien computers couldn't process. The control systems responded to thoughts as much as touch. Report on the fleet construction? She ordered. Commander Borum Shin stepped forward with a tablet that seemed to be made of solid light. Shipyard 7 has completed the first prototype. The new drive system works exactly as Dr. Choi predicted. We can travel between stars without using hyperspace at all. Yuna nodded. Hyperspace was how every species in the galaxy traveled faster than light. Ships would enter a parallel dimension where distances were shorter, make their journey, then return to normal space. It was efficient, but it was also predictable. Every hyperspace route was known and mapped. Dr. Sunho Choi had developed something different. His quantum tunnel drives created direct pathways through folded spacetime. A ship could disappear from one point and appear at another without traveling through any dimension that alien sensors could detect. How long until we have a full exploration? Fleet? Yuna asked. 6 months for the first squadron, Borom replied. They'll be completely automated. No human crews needed for the initial missions. This was important. The galaxy was watching human space for any sign of ships leaving the containment zone. Crewed vessels would show life signs that alien sensors could detect. But automated ships using quantum tunnels would be invisible to any known detection. Method. In a secret facility on Titan, engineer Kyung Woo supervised the construction of the first exploration vessels. They looked nothing like traditional spaceships. Instead of metal hulls and visible engines, they were smooth, dark objects that seemed to bend light around themselves. The stealth coating is working perfectly, reported his chief technician. These ships will be invisible to every known sensor type. Even if someone looks directly at them with optical telescopes, they'll see nothing but empty space. Kyung walked around one of the completed ships. It was the size of a small building but looked like a piece of the night sky. And the AI systems? Each ship has a complete copy of the Human Knowledge Archive, the technician explained. They can analyze any situation, make contact with alien species if needed, and report back through quantum communication. They're not just exploration ships. They're ambassadors, spies, and guardians all in one. On Earth, President Seala Kong met with the Human Defense Council in a conference room deep underground. The war between species had taught humanity to be careful. Important meetings happened in places that alien weapons couldn't reach. The isolation is working, reported Intelligence Director Tae-Yun Lim. Galactic trade networks have adjusted to our absence. Most species rarely think about humans anymore. They believe we're just sitting in our corner of space, probably arguing among ourselves about the containment. And our real preparations? President Kang asked. Ahead of schedule, Admiral Song replied via secure connection from Mars. The new shipyards are producing vessels faster than we expected. Dr. Lee's manufacturing systems don't need large crews or traditional materials. We're building a fleet that could protect or destroy any known civilization, and we're doing it in complete secrecy. Dr. Hannah Lee joined the conversation from her new laboratory on Europa. The biotechnology projects are also progressing well. We've solved most of the genetic enhancement challenges. The new human variant will be stronger, smarter, and able to survive in environments that would kill baseline humans. Are we talking about creating a new species? President Kang asked carefully. No, Hannah replied. We're talking about fulfilling human potential. Every enhancement we're developing already exists in human genetics. We're just activating dormant capabilities that evolution gave us millions of years ago. The meeting continued for hours, covering projects that would have seemed impossible just 3 years earlier. Weapons that could disable entire fleets without killing anyone. Manufacturing systems that could build cities from raw asteroid material. Communication networks that worked instantly across any distance. But the most important project was something simpler. Mapping every inhabited world in the galaxy. The automated exploration ships would visit every system, catalog every species, and identify which civilizations were peaceful and which were aggressive. We're not preparing for war, President Kong explained to the Council. We're preparing to make war impossible. When we return to galactic society, we'll do it as protectors, not conquerors. Back on New Seoul Station, Captain Minho Park made his final check of the cargo holds. Everything was loaded. The last human families were aboard. In a few hours, the station would be empty except for the automated systems. As his ship pulled away from the docking bay, he looked back at the station one more time. When humans returned to this place, they would be different. The galaxy had tried to contain them, to limit their growth and potential. Instead, the galaxy had given humanity the greatest gift possible. Time to evolve beyond anything the known universe had ever seen. Dr. Sunho Choi stood before the Human Defense Council in the secure meeting room beneath Geneva. 5 years had passed since humanity's isolation began, and the man who had once been a simple physics professor now held secrets that could change the galaxy forever. The breakthrough is complete, he announced. activating a holographic display that showed mathematical equations floating in the air. Quantum tunnel technology is no longer theoretical. We can now travel between any 2 points in the universe instantly without using hyperspace. Admiral Unisong leaned forward in her chair. Explain it in simple terms, Doctor. Sun Ho smiled and waved his hand. The complex equations disappeared, replaced by a simple animation. Imagine space as a piece of paper. Traditional faster-than-light travel goes over the paper from one point to another. Hyperspace travel goes under the paper, where the distances are shorter. Our quantum tunnels fold the paper so that 2 distant points touch each other directly. President. Xiala Kang studied the display. What does this mean for our capabilities? It means we can place a ship anywhere in the galaxy without anyone knowing it left human space, Sun Ho explained. There's no energy signature, no hyperspace disturbance, no travel time. A vessel can disappear from Mars and appear next to an alien homeworld in the same instant. Engineer Dan Ko joined the meeting via hologram from the shipyards orbiting Jupiter. Behind her, massive construction robots worked on vessels that looked nothing like traditional spaceships. The first quantum tunnel ship will be ready for testing next week. We've incorporated Dr. Choi's drive system into a completely new design. The ship she showed them was beautiful and terrifying. It had no sharp edges or visible weapons. Instead, it flowed like liquid metal, its surface covered in patterns that seemed to shift and move. It was about the size of an old human destroyer. But Admiral Song knew it could probably defeat an entire alien fleet. What about crew requirements? She asked. None, Dan replied. These ships are controlled by advanced AI systems that can think and react faster than any biological crew. They can operate independently for years, making decisions based on their mission parameters and human values. Dr. Hannah Lee's voice joined the conversation from her bioresearch facility on Europa. The AI systems are more than just computers. We've given them the ability to understand emotions, to recognize when someone needs help, and to make moral choices. They're not just weapons or tools. They're electronic extensions of human compassion. Over the following months, the first quantum tunnel ships began their secret missions. The automated vessels slipped through folded space to distant star systems, invisible to all known detection methods. They carried no crews, but they carried something more important, the complete knowledge and values of human civilization. Captain Jiwan Nam, now serving as coordinator for the secret exploration program, monitored the ships from her command center on the dark side of the moon. The facility was built inside a crater and covered with materials that made it invisible to any sensor that might be watching from galactic space. Ship 7 is approaching. The Zelani system, reported her communications officer. The Zelani sent a distress call through Galactic Network 6 months ago. Their planet is being strip-mined by consortium corporations, but the Galactic Council says it's a legal business dispute. Yuan nodded grimly. The Zelani were a peaceful species of plant-like beings who had never developed space travel. When galactic corporations discovered valuable minerals on their world, the aliens had no way to resist the mining operations that were destroying their forests. What are Ship 7's orders? Observe and assess. If the situation is as bad as the report suggests, take appropriate action to help the Zelani without revealing human involvement. The quantum tunnel ship materialized in empty space near the Zelani homeworld. Its AI, which had chosen the name Guardian for itself, immediately began scanning the planet. What it found made its decision-making algorithm simulate what humans would call anger. Massive mining machines were strip mining entire continents. The Zelani people were being forced into tiny reservations while their ancestral forests burned. Corporate security forces were using weapons against civilians who tried to protect their sacred groves. Guardian analyzed the situation for exactly 2.3 seconds, then took action. It began with the mining equipment. Using precisely targeted electromagnetic pulses, it disabled every piece of machinery on the planet. The pulses were designed to look like natural solar flare activity, so no one would suspect sabotage. Next, it addressed the corporate security forces. Their weapons simply stopped working. Their communication systems developed mysterious malfunctions. Their transport ships found their engines refusing to start. Within hours, the armed personnel were stranded and helpless. Finally, Guardian sent an encrypted message to the Zilani leadership. The message contained detailed information about galactic law, instructions for filing formal complaints with the proper authorities, and most importantly, evidence of illegal activities by the mining corporations. The Zilani people, suddenly free from oppression and armed with legal knowledge, contacted the Galactic Council with a perfectly documented case against their oppressors. The corporations found themselves facing massive fines and criminal charges throughout the galaxy. Similar scenes played out as humanity's invisible guardians found species in need of help. The pattern was always the same: analyze the situation, take minimal action to level the playing field, then provide the oppressed beings with the tools they needed to save themselves. On the crystal world of Maitar, a plague that was killing thousands suddenly stopped spreading when medical supplies appeared overnight near every hospital. The supplies had no identifying marks, but they contained treatments that worked better than anything in galactic medicine. In the Corvash system, pirates who had been raiding peaceful traders found their ships mysteriously malfunctioning every time they approached a potential victim. Their weapons wouldn't fire, their engines would shut down, and their communication systems would broadcast their location to galactic security forces, the Drakari Empire, which had been expanding aggressively. By conquering weaker species, discovered that their invasion fleets kept encountering technical difficulties. Their most advanced warships would arrive at target systems only to find their weapon systems offline and their tactical computers showing nothing but error messages. Back in human space, Intelligence Director Taeyun Lim presented his reports to the Defense Council. The operations are working perfectly. We've intervened in 47 situations without anyone suspecting human involvement. The galaxy thinks they're seeing a series of fortunate coincidences. What about the advanced technology we're sharing? President Kong asked. Carefully managed, Taeyun replied. We only give oppressed species the minimum technology they need to protect themselves. Nothing that could be used for aggression, and nothing that would reveal our level of advancement. Most of it looks like natural technological development. To outside observers, Dr. Hannah Lee had been working on another project during this time. In her laboratories on Europa, she had been developing enhancements for human beings themselves. Not genetic modifications, but technological augmentations that would allow humans to survive and thrive in any environment. The neural interface system is ready for testing, she reported to Admiral Song during one of their secure communications. Volunteers can now connect directly with our AI systems, sharing thoughts and processing information at electronic speeds. It's like giving humans the ability to think as fast as computers while keeping all of their creativity and emotional intelligence. The first volunteers for the enhancement program were members of the intelligence service. Agents like Boram Shin found that the neural interfaces allowed them to process vast amounts of information instantly, speak any alien language perfectly, and coordinate with AI systems as if they were extensions of their own minds. But the most remarkable development was in human manufacturing capability. Engineer Kyung Woo had designed automated factories that could build almost anything from raw materials. These factories didn't need traditional workers or supply chains. They could break down asteroids at the molecular level and reassemble the atoms into finished products. We can now build a complete city in a few weeks, Kyung reported to the Defense Council, or a fleet of ships, or a planetary defense system. Our manufacturing capacity has grown by a factor of 10,000 since the isolation began. The galaxy had no idea what humanity was becoming. To alien observers, human space remained quiet and sealed. The occasional probe or trading vessel that approached the border received the same polite message and gentle escort away from human territory, but within that sealed space, humanity was transforming itself into something unprecedented in galactic history. They were becoming a species that could appear anywhere instantly, help anyone in need, and defend themselves against any threat, all while remaining invisible to those who might try to stop them. Dr. Sunho Choi stood once again before the defense council, but this time his presentation was different. Instead of showing them new technology, he showed them a map of the galaxy with thousands of glowing points. These are all the places where our ships have been, he explained. Every inhabited. The emergency session of the Galactic Council buzzed with panic and confusion. Ambassador Taiyun Lim of the Velkari Dominion slithered quickly to the central speaking platform, his scaled body showing signs of stress that other species had learned to recognize as extreme agitation. "Honored representatives," he began, his voice carrying the hissing accent of his people. "The Drakari Empire has conquered 3 more systems in the past month. The speed of their expansion is unprecedented. But more disturbing than their success is the technology they are now using." The massive display screens around the council chamber showed footage from the recent battles. Drakari warships moved through space with weapons that fired beams of pure energy. Their shields deflected attacks that should have destroyed them. Their ships moved faster and turned more sharply than physics should have allowed. Speaker Prime Zulgorik's 4 arms gestured for attention. "Ambassador Lim, the Drakari have always been an aggressive species. Their military technology has been steadily improving for decades." "No," Taeyun replied firmly. "This is not steady improvement. 3 months ago, Drakari weapons were standard plasma cannons and missile systems. Today, they have energy weapons that can cut through the strongest armor like it was paper. Their defensive systems can stop attacks from multiple battleships simultaneously." Representative Clicksynth of the Thresh Collective chimed in with her crystal voice. "Are you suggesting outside assistance?" "I am suggesting exactly that," Taeyun said. He activated his own display, showing technical analysis of the new Drakari weapons. "Our best scientists have analyzed the wreckage from recent battles. The energy patterns, the mathematical principles, even the basic design philosophy of these weapons. They match no known galactic technology." A murmur ran through the assembly. If the Drakari had received advanced weapons from an unknown source, it could upset the balance of power across the entire galaxy. Where could such technology have come from? Asked the representative from the Yifel Federation. Taeyun paused, knowing his next words would shock the assembly. "The energy signatures match theoretical designs that we have seen before in human scientific papers published before their containment." The council chamber fell silent. Every alien representative turned to look at the empty table that had once been occupied by humanity's ambassador. The table had been removed years ago, since humans were no longer part of galactic civilization. "That is impossible," declared Representative Mordek of the Korvash Alliance. "Humans have been contained for 5 years. Our monitoring stations confirm that no human vessel has left their designated space. Then how do you explain this?" Taeyun activated another display showing energy readings from a Drakari weapon test. "This is a human theoretical design for a quantum disruption cannon." The paper was published by Dr. Sunho Choi of Earth University 6 years ago. At the time, we dismissed it as interesting but impractical theory. The assembly erupted in discussion. Some representatives insisted that humans could not be involved. Others demanded immediate investigation of human space. A few suggested that the containment had been a mistake if humans were now secretly arming hostile empires. In the middle of the chaos, a new voice spoke from the gallery. "Perhaps you should ask the Drakari where they obtained their new toys." Every head turned to see who had spoken. In the public viewing section sat a small group of beings from recently conquered worlds. They were refugees who had been given permission to address the council about war crimes. The speaker was Zethar, one of the last survivors of the Minoran civilization. His people had been peaceful traders before the Drakari destroyed their homeworld 3 weeks ago. "The Drakari did not develop this technology themselves," Zethar continued. "When they attacked our world, their commander boasted about their new allies. He said that powerful friends had given them weapons that would make them masters of the galaxy. Speaker Prime Zulgoric gestured for order. Did this commander identify these allies? He called them the silent benefactors, Sethar replied. He said they came from the void between stars, offering gifts to those brave enough to take what they deserved. The description sent chills through many representatives. Unknown aliens operating in the void between civilized systems, offering advanced weapons to aggressive species, was the kind of threat that could destroy galactic civilization, but Taeyan Lim was thinking about something else. The phrase silent benefactors reminded him of reports his intelligence services had been collecting for months. Strange incidents across the galaxy where oppressed peoples had received unexpected help from unknown sources, medical supplies appearing on plague-stricken worlds, pirates finding their weapons mysteriously disabled, corporate security forces suffering equipment failures when they tried to suppress peaceful protests, mining operations shutting down due to technical problems when they illegally occupied. Inhabited worlds. At the time, these incidents had seemed unconnected, random good fortune for the downtrodden. But now Taeyan wondered if there was a pattern. Speaker Prime, he said, I request permission to present additional information that may be relevant to this crisis. The ancient being nodded. Proceed. Taeyan activated a new display showing a map of the galaxy. Hundreds of small lights appeared, scattered across known space. These represent locations where unusual technical failures or unexpected assistance have been reported over the past 3 years. Initially, my government's intelligence service classified these as unrelated incidents. He touched a control, and the lights began to pulse in sequence, showing the timeline of events. But when we arrange them chronologically, a pattern emerges. The incidents follow trade routes and communication networks. They target specific types of situations: corporate exploitation, piracy, military aggression against civilian populations. What are you suggesting? Asked Representative Clicksynth. I am suggesting that someone has been operating throughout galactic space for years, providing assistance to oppressed peoples and interfering with aggressive actions. Someone with technology advanced enough to disable modern weapons and ships without being detected. The implications hung heavy in the chamber. If an unknown force had been secretly operating across the galaxy, influencing events and providing both help and hindrance depending on the situation, then galactic civilization was not as stable as they had believed. Could this unknown force be the same one arming the Drakari? Asked the Yithal representative. Taeyan considered the question. It's possible, but the pattern suggests otherwise. The mysterious assistance has consistently helped peaceful peoples against aggressive ones. Arming the Drakari for conquest would contradict that pattern. Unless, said a new voice, there are multiple unknown forces operating in our galaxy. The speaker was Intelligence Director Vexalan of the Mordani Union. His cybernetic enhancements allowed him to process information faster than most biological minds, and he had been analyzing the data while Taeyan spoke. Consider this possibility. Vexalan continued. One unknown force has been helping the oppressed and hindering the aggressive. A second force is now arming the Drakari for conquest. These two forces may be in opposition to each other. The idea was terrifying. If two advanced civilizations were fighting a shadow war throughout galactic space, using known species as their pawns, then everything the Council thought they knew about their universe was wrong. Speaker Prime Zulgoric raised all 4 arms. For silence. These theories are disturbing, but we must focus on immediate threats. The Drakari Empire continues to expand. Whether their weapons come from humans, unknown aliens, or their own research, we must respond to their aggression. What response do you suggest? Asked Representative Morduk. Before the speaker could answer, the chamber's emergency alert system activated. Red lights flashed, and an urgent message appeared on all display screens. Priority alert, Drakari fleet approaching core systems. Estimated time to Galactic Council headquarters, 6 hours. Panic erupted in the chamber. The Drakari had never dared to threaten the core systems before. These heavily defended star systems contained the capitals of the most powerful galactic Civilizations? An attack here would mean all-out war, but as representatives called for military response and evacuation procedures, one being sat quietly and smiled. Hidden in the gallery among the refugee observers, Captain Jiwan Nam, of human intelligence, watched the chaos with satisfaction. The Drakari thought they had been given advanced weapons by mysterious benefactors. They had no idea that every piece of technology they received had hidden flaws built into it. Systems that would fail at crucial moments. Weapons that would malfunction when used against civilian populations. Shields that would collapse when faced with the specific energy frequencies that human ships used. The galaxy was about to learn that there were indeed two unknown forces operating in their space. One had been secretly helping the innocent for years. The other had been setting a trap for the aggressive. Both forces were human, and the trap was about to be sprung. In the deep space facility hidden within the Void Nebula, Intelligence Officer Borum Shin stood before a wall of displays showing activity across the entire galaxy. The nebula was a region that most species considered uninhabitable, filled with radiation and gravitational anomalies that made navigation impossible with standard technology. It was the perfect place for humans to hide their most secret operations. Status report on Operation Silent Guardian, she said to her assembled team. Lieutenant Commander Hyun-woo stepped forward, his neural interface allowing him to access information instantly. The Mitar plague response was successful. Medical supplies were delivered to all population centers without detection. Their death rate has dropped to 0, and their government believes the cure came from their own research facilities. Borum nodded and made notes on her tablet. The Mitar were a crystalline species whose bodies conducted sound like musical instruments. When a biological plague had threatened to destroy their ability to communicate, human medical technology had provided a cure that worked by strengthening their crystal structures. What about the Zelani situation? Mining operations have been completely shut down, reported Agent Soyeon Park. Corporate security forces evacuated the planet after their equipment kept malfunctioning. The Zelani people now have legal documentation proving their ownership of all mineral rights, and several galactic law firms have agreed to represent them pro bono. The Zelani were plant-like beings whose forests were sacred to their culture. When greedy corporations had tried to strip mine their world, human intervention had made the mining equipment mysteriously fail while providing the Zelani with legal knowledge to fight back through proper channels. Excellent! And the piracy situation in the Outer Rim? Captain Minho Park, now serving as coordinator for anti-piracy operations, smiled grimly. The Corvash pirates have officially disbanded. After 6 months of their ships malfunctioning every time they tried to attack a civilian vessel, their crews decided that honest work was more profitable than piracy. Borum walked to the central display, which showed a 3-dimensional map of known space. Hundreds of small lights indicated locations where human operatives had intervened to help innocent beings or stop aggressive actions. The pattern looked random to outside observers, but Borum could see the careful planning behind each operation. What about our enhanced operatives in the field? Agent Kyung-min, one of the first humans to receive the neural interface upgrades, stepped forward. His enhanced mind could process information at computer speeds while retaining human creativity and empathy. We have 37 deep cover operatives working throughout galactic civilization. They appear to be normal members of various alien species, but they're actually humans using advanced biological camouflage. The biological camouflage was one of Dr. Hannah Lee's most impressive achievements. Using nanotechnology that could reshape human bodies at the cellular level, agents could appear to be members of any species they needed to infiltrate. They looked, sounded, and even smelled like the aliens they were impersonating. Their missions? Intelligence gathering, mostly, Kyung-min replied. They're identifying which species are naturally peaceful and which are aggressive. They're also locating corrupt officials, criminal organizations, and potential threats to civilian populations. On the mining world of Zarian Prime, what appeared to be a typical Valkyrie businessman named Sylphanor was actually Agent Jun SEO in disguise. He had spent 2 years infiltrating the corporate hierarchy that was illegally enslaving indigenous populations on remote worlds. June. CO sat in a board meeting where executives casually discussed which inhabited planets would be most profitable to strip mine. They talked about relocating entire civilizations to make room for mining equipment, and they laughed about bribing Galactic Council representatives to approve the operations. What they didn't know was that every word they spoke was being recorded by June SEO's enhanced neural implants and transmitted instantly to human intelligence networks. Within hours, detailed evidence of their crimes would be delivered anonymously to galactic law enforcement, anti-corruption investigators, and news organizations. Meanwhile, on the pleasure world of New Risa, Agent Yunbai appeared to be a wealthy Ythal socialite enjoying expensive entertainment. In reality, she was tracking a network of criminals who kidnapped members of primitive species to sell as exotic pets to rich collectors. The criminal network thought they were untouchable because they had bribed officials throughout the galactic justice system. But Yunbai had identified every corrupt official, every illegal facility, and every victim of their operation. When human intelligence was finished with them, their entire organization would collapse simultaneously across dozens of star systems. Back in the Void Nebula, Borum reviewed reports from her field agents. The scope of human operations was staggering. In 5 years of secret activity, they had prevented 3 wars, stopped dozens of genocides, eliminated countless criminal organizations, and provided aid to millions of beings who had nowhere else to turn for help. "Ma'am," called Communications Officer Doyun Kim, "we're receiving a priority message from Admiral Song." The secure channel activated, showing Admiral Unisong and her command center on Mars. "Borum, we need to accelerate the timeline for Phase 2 operations. The Drakari situation is moving faster than expected." "Understood, Admiral." "What are your orders?" "Begin revealing our capabilities to selected species. We need allies who understand what's really happening in the galaxy before the Drakari crisis reaches its peak." This was a major shift in strategy. For 5 years, humanity had worked in complete secrecy, helping others without revealing their involvement. Now they would begin making contact with species they had identified as naturally peaceful and trustworthy. The first contact would be with the Mytar collective, whose crystal bodies made them naturally honest beings. They literally could not lie because their emotions showed as changes in their musical harmonics. Dr. Sunho Choi materialized in the Mytar capital city using quantum tunnel technology. One moment, the city's central plaza was empty. The next moment, a human being stood there, surrounded by the shimming effects of folded space-time. The Mytar who witnessed his arrival made sounds like crystal bells ringing in harmony. They were not afraid, just amazed. Their enhanced hearing could detect the quantum resonance patterns that proved this being had traveled through dimensions unknown to galactic science. "Greetings, friends of the Mytar Collective," Sunho said in their musical language. "I am Dr. Sunho Choi, representative of humanity. We are the ones who provided the medical supplies that cured your plague." Prime Resonance Clixara, the leader of the Mytar, approached slowly. Her crystal body chimed with harmonics that indicated confusion mixed with gratitude. "Human friend, we were told that your species was contained to your home systems. How do you come to our world?" "My species has been working throughout the galaxy for years, helping those in need while remaining hidden. We have technology that allows us to travel instantly between any 2 points in space. We have agents operating among every major civilization, gathering information and providing assistance where needed." The implications made Clixara's body ring with overtones of amazement. "You are the silent guardians that some species whisper about? The ones who help the helpless and punish the wicked?" "We are," Sunho confirmed. "And now we need your help. A great crisis is coming that will threaten every peaceful civilization in the galaxy. We cannot face it alone." Similar first contacts were happening simultaneously across dozens of worlds. On the forest planet of Verdania, engineer Daeun Ko revealed herself to the tree-like Solari people who had been saved from deforestation by mysterious equipment Failures in logging operations on the ocean world of Aquatica. Captain Yuan Nam met with the aquatic Chaitani, whose coral cities had been protected from pollution by corporate waste disposal systems that kept mysteriously malfunctioning. Each contact followed the same pattern. Reveal human involvement in past assistance, demonstrate advanced technology that proved human capabilities, and then ask for alliance in facing the coming threat. The response was overwhelmingly positive. Species after species agreed to secret partnerships with humanity. They had all benefited from human help over the years, and they were grateful for the chance to return the favor, but not every contact went smoothly. On the industrial world of Mechanicus, Agent Yunha was discovered by corporate security while infiltrating a weapons manufacturing facility. The facility was producing illegal weapons for terrorist organizations, and Yunha had been planting evidence that would expose the operation to galactic authorities. Security Chief Vextar cornered her in a storage room filled with prototype weapons. "You're no Mordani worker," he snarled, his cybernetic eye scanning her for biological inconsistencies. "Your cellular structure is all wrong. What are you?" Yunha's biological camouflage was failing under intensive scanning. Her human features began to show through the artificial Mordani appearance. She had two choices: fight her way out and risk exposing human capabilities, or surrender and hope her extraction team could rescue her. She chose a third option. "I'm someone who's been watching your illegal weapons sales for 6 months, she said calmly. Admiral Yuna Song stood in the command center of Defense Station Alpha, hidden in the asteroid field at the edge of human space. The massive screens around her showed the approaching Drakari fleet, 200 warships armed with weapons they believed made them invincible. What they didn't know was that every piece of technology they had received from their mysterious benefactors contained hidden flaws that would activate at the worst possible moment. "Admiral," reported Captain Minho Park from his position at the tactical station, "the Drakari fleet is maintaining course for Research Station Gamma. They should arrive in 6 hours. Yuna nodded grimly. Research Station Gamma was a small human outpost that studied quantum mechanics at the very edge of the containment zone. Officially, it housed 50 scientists and support staff. The Drakari had declared it a violation of the containment treaty and ordered its destruction. What the Drakari didn't know was that Research Station Gamma was also the testing ground for humanity's most advanced defensive systems. Dr. Hanali had spent 3 years turning the small station into a fortress that could protect itself against any known weapon. "Status of our response fleet?" Yuna asked. Squadron leader Kyung-woo appeared on the main display from his flagship, the Silent Thunder. Behind him, his bridge crew worked at stations that looked nothing like standard galactic technology. "First, Squadron is ready for quantum tunnel deployment. 20 ships, all equipped with the new pacification systems." The human response fleet was tiny compared to the Drakari Armada. But size meant nothing when you had technology that could disable entire fleets without firing a shot. The pacification systems were Dr. Sun Ho Choi's masterpiece, weapons that made enemy vessels simply stop working rather than destroying them. "Remember," Yuna said to her assembled commanders, "we are not here to destroy the Drakari. We are here to demonstrate that their aggression is futile. Disable their ships, rescue their crews if necessary, but minimize casualties." This was humanity's philosophy of war: make violence impossible rather than meet it with greater violence. It was a philosophy that the galaxy had never seen before, and it was about to change everything on Research Station Gamma. Dr. Hannah Lee made final preparations for the coming battle. The station's external appearance hadn't changed. It still looked like a simple research facility with minimal defenses. But hidden beneath its hull were shield generators that could stop the combined fire of 100 battleships. "All personnel to secure positions," she announced over the stations. Communication system. "The Drakari fleet will arrive in 4 hours. This will be humanity's first public demonstration of our true capabilities." The station's 50 researchers and staff members took their positions at monitoring stations throughout the facility. They were all volunteers who had requested to be present for this historic moment. Today, the galaxy would learn that humans were no longer the primitive species that had been voted into containment. Meanwhile, in the Void Nebula, Intelligence Officer Boram Shin coordinated with human agents throughout galactic space. Phase 3 is now active, she broadcast on secure channels. Begin documentation operations. The galaxy needs to see what really happens when aggressors threaten innocent civilians. Across known space, human agents began recording everything. News networks would receive anonymous footage of the battle from dozens of different angles. Galactic Council representatives would find detailed technical analysis of the weapons and tactics used. Independent observers would witness events that would be talked about for generations. The Drakari fleet dropped out of hyperspace exactly on schedule. Fleet Admiral Krekstar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Blood of Conquest, and stared at the small research station that hung in space ahead of him. The station made no threatening moves, sent no warnings, and appeared to have no significant defenses. "This will be easier than destroying a cargo hauler," he told his tactical officer. "Signal the fleet to open fire. Let's show the galaxy what happens to humans who violate their containment." 200 Drakari warships opened fire simultaneously. Energy beams, plasma bolts, and quantum missiles streaked through space toward the tiny research station. The combined firepower was enough to destroy a small moon. The weapons struck an invisible barrier around the station and simply stopped. The energy beams bent around the research facility like light bending around a black hole. The plasma bolts were absorbed and converted into harmless light. The quantum missiles detonated harmlessly against fields that turned their explosive force into pretty patterns of colored energy. Research Station Gamma sat in the middle of the firestorm, completely undamaged. "What is that?" Admiral Krekstar demanded. "No shields can stop that much firepower." His science officer studied the readings with growing confusion. "Sir, our weapons aren't being blocked by shields. They're being redirected by some kind of space-time distortion. It's like the station exists in a pocket of twisted reality." Before Krekstar could respond, space around his fleet began to shimmer. Quantum tunnels opened everywhere as human ships materialized from folded spacetime. The human vessels looked nothing like traditional warships. They flowed like liquid metal, their surfaces covered in patterns that seemed to move and shift. Squadron Leader Kyung Woo's voice broadcast on all Drakari frequencies. "Drakari fleet, you have attacked a civilian research station in violation of galactic law. Power down your weapons and prepare to be escorted from human space." Admiral Krekstar laughed harshly. 20 ships against 200. You humans are even more foolish than we thought. All vessels, target the human fleet and destroy them. The Drakari weapons that had seemed so powerful when fighting other galactic species suddenly began to malfunction. Energy cannons overheated and shut down. Plasma weapons misfired and damaged their own ships. The advanced shields that had made them feel invincible flickered and failed. "What's happening to our systems?" Krekstar shouted at his engineering crew. Chief Engineer Vexmal studied his displays with growing horror. "Sir, every advanced system we receive from our benefactors is failing simultaneously. It's like they were designed to stop working at the worst possible moment." That was exactly what had happened. Every piece of technology that humans had secretly provided to the Drakari contained hidden programming that would activate when used against civilian targets or in situations that violated galactic law. The Drakari had thought they were being armed by mysterious allies. Instead, they had been given weapons that would turn against them when they tried to use them for evil. The human ships moved through the Drakari fleet like dancers, their quantum tunnel drives allowed them to appear next to enemy vessels, disable their systems with precisely targeted electromagnetic pulses, then vanish and reappear somewhere else before the enemy could react, but the humans didn't destroy the Drakari ships. Instead, they used Dr. Choi's pacification technology to make the enemy vessels simply stop working. Engines shut down. Weapons went offline. Life support systems continued to function, but everything else became inert. Within 30 minutes, the entire Drakari fleet was floating helplessly in space. "This is impossible," Admiral Krekstar muttered as he watched his mighty armada reduced to helpless metal boxes. No species in the galaxy has technology this advanced. Squadron leader Kyung Woo's ship materialized directly in front of the Drakari. Flagship, Admiral Krekstar, your fleet has been neutralized. Your crews are unharmed, but your ships are no longer capable of offensive operations. You have two choices: return to Drakari space and reconsider your policy of conquest, or remain here and explain to the Galactic Council why you attacked a civilian research station. For the first time in his military career, Krekstar found himself completely defeated without a single casualty on either side. His ships were disabled but not destroyed. His crews were safe but powerless. It was a kind of warfare he had never imagined possible. How? He asked over the communication channel. How did primitive humans develop technology that makes our most advanced weapons useless? We had 5 years of isolation to think about the problems of galactic civilization, Kyung Woo replied. We decided that the biggest problem was species like yours who believe that might makes right. So we developed technology that makes might irrelevant. Across the galaxy, news networks broadcast footage of the battle. Beings who had lived in fear of Drakari expansion watched in amazement as the mighty invasion fleet was stopped without violence. The humans had demonstrated a form of warfare that protected rather than destroyed. That ended conflicts rather than escalating them. In the Galactic Council chambers, representatives watched the recordings in stunned silence. The humans had been contained for 5 years, dismissed as primitive and emotional. But the beings who had just defeated the most feared military force in the galaxy were clearly neither primitive nor contained. Speaker Prime Zulgorik's 4 arms trembled as he processed what he had seen. How long have humans possessed this technology? Ambassador Taeyun Lim studied the technical analysis his scientists had provided. Based on these energy signatures and tactical capabilities, they have been far in advance of any known galactic technology for at least 3 years, possibly longer. The implications were staggering. While the galaxy had thought humans, the emergency session of the Galactic Council was unlike any in recorded history. Every representative seat was filled, and observers packed the galleries. The defeat of the Drakari fleet by 20 human ships had sent shockwaves throughout civilized space. Now, for the first time in 5 years, humanity would address the galaxy. President Siala Kang appeared as a hologram in the center of the council chamber. Her image was crystal clear, transmitted through quantum communication networks that the galaxy didn't know existed. She stood calmly, her hands folded, while hundreds of alien eyes stared at her in mixture of fear, confusion, and awe. Honored representatives, she began, her voice carrying clearly through the vast chamber. I am President Siala Kang of the Human Federation. I come before you today to discuss the future of galactic civilization. Speaker Prime Zulgorik's 4 arms gestured for attention. President Kang, humanity was restricted to your home systems by Council Resolution 4429. How do you justify the violation of galactic law represented by your attack on the Drakari fleet? Siala smiled slightly. Honored Speaker, we did not violate galactic law. The Drakari attacked a civilian research station within our designated space. We defended ourselves and stopped their aggression without causing a single casualty. By any interpretation of galactic law, our actions were both legal and necessary. But your technology, interrupted Ambassador Taeyun Lim, his scaled body showing signs of stress. Where did humans acquire weapons and ships so far beyond anything in known science? We developed them ourselves, Siala replied calmly. During our 5 years of isolation, we dedicated our civilization to solving the fundamental problems that plague galactic society. War, poverty, oppression, environmental destruction, technological stagnation. We believe we have found solutions. Representative Clixanth of the Thresh Collective chimed with harmonics of disbelief. You claim to have advanced beyond the technology of species that have been spacefaring for thousands of years? In only 5 years? 5 years was more than enough, Siala confirmed. But we did not work alone. She gestured, and new holographic displays appeared around the chamber. They showed technical diagrams, energy readings, and mathematical proofs that made the assembled scientists and engineers lean forward in amazement. We studied every piece of technology that aliens left behind when we were contained. We analyzed the scientific papers published by galactic universities. We reverse-engineered devices that had been abandoned or discarded. Then we improved upon everything we found. Dr. Hannah Lee materialized next to President Kang, her own hologram showing the results of human technological advancement. What galactic science considers impossible, we consider a starting point. Your quantum physics assumes that particles cannot exist in multiple states simultaneously. Our technology proves otherwise. To demonstrate, she activated a device that made her hologram appear in 3 different locations at once. Each image was solid and real, showing that human technology could manipulate the basic laws of reality. Your faster-than-light travel requires entering hyperspace, Dr. Sun Choi's voice added as he joined the presentation. Our ships fold space-time itself, allowing instant travel between any 2 points in the universe without entering any alternate dimension. The assembled representatives stared in stunned silence as more human scientists and officials appeared as holograms throughout the chamber. Each one demonstrated technology that should have been impossible according to known science, but President Kang was not finished with her revelations. However, the most important thing we must discuss is not our technology, but our activities. During the past 5 years, you see, we never actually withdrew from galactic civilization. The statement sent murmurs of confusion through the assembly. Every monitoring station had confirmed that human ships had not left their designated space. While you watched our official territories, we established dozens of hidden colonies using quantum tunnel technology, Ciala continued. We built secret bases in regions you considered uninhabitable. We developed cloaking systems that made our ships invisible to all known sensors. New displays appeared showing the true extent of human expansion. Bases in the Void Nebula, colonies in the heart of black hole systems, research stations in the spaces between galaxies. Humanity had not been contained at all. They had been quietly spreading throughout the universe. But more than expansion, we engaged in protection, President Kang said. For 5 years, human agents have operated throughout galactic space, helping oppressed peoples and stopping aggressive actions. The revelation hit the assembly like a physical blow. Representative after representative realized that the mysterious assistance their worlds had received, the miraculous solutions to impossible problems, had all come from the humans they thought were isolated and powerless. The medical supplies that cured the Mitar plague, Ciala listed calmly. The technical failures that stopped illegal mining on Zelani worlds. The equipment malfunctions that ended piracy in the Outer Rim, the evidence that exposed corrupt officials. Throughout the galaxy, all of it was human intervention. Ambassador Veltar of the Velkari coiled his snake-like body in agitation. You're claiming that humans have been secretly manipulating galactic civilization for years? We have been secretly protecting galactic civilization, President Kang corrected. We identified every species that needed help and provided it. We found every organization that preyed on the innocent and stopped them. We located every corrupt official and exposed their crimes. Intelligence Director Taeyun Lim, who had spent months investigating the mysterious incidents, suddenly understood the full scope of what had been happening. The pattern of interventions, the precisely targeted assistance, the technology that always appeared exactly when and where it was needed most. You've been watching everything. We have been watching, yes, Ciala confirmed. But more than that, we have been learning. We studied every species in the galaxy to understand which ones are naturally peaceful and which are naturally aggressive. We identified civilizations that could be trusted and those that could not. She gestured again, and a massive 3-dimensional map of the galaxy appeared in the center of the chamber. Thousands of star systems were marked with different colors. Green for peaceful species, red for aggressive ones, yellow for those that could go either way. This is 5 years of careful observation and analysis, President Kang explained. We know which governments are corrupt and which are honest. We know which species will help their neighbors and which will exploit them. We know who can be trusted with advanced technology and who cannot. The implications were staggering. Humanity had compiled a complete psychological and political profile of every major civilization in the galaxy. They knew secrets that governments had hidden for centuries. Which brings us to the most important revelation, Ciala continued. The Drakari Empire did not develop their advanced weapons through their own research. We gave those weapons to them. The chamber erupted in shocked voices. Representatives demanded explanations while observers in the galleries whispered in amazement. "Why would you arm an aggressive species?" Speaker Prime Zolgorak asked. "Because we needed to demonstrate the futility of aggression," President Kang replied. "We gave the Drakari weapons that seemed powerful but contained hidden flaws. When they used those weapons against civilian targets, the technology turned against them. We wanted to show the galaxy what happens when someone tries to use advanced technology for conquest." Dr. Sun Ho Choi's hologram stepped forward. "Every piece of equipment we provided to the Drakari was designed to fail when used for aggressive purposes. Their shields collapsed when they attacked innocents. Their weapons backfired when they tried to conquer peaceful worlds. Their engines shut down when they violated galactic law. It was a test," Dr. Hannah Lee added. "We wanted to see if advanced technology would corrupt them or if their aggressive nature would cause them to destroy themselves. They chose corruption, so the technology chose to abandon them?" The assembled representatives began to understand the full cleverness of the human strategy. They had armed their enemies with weapons that would ensure their enemies' defeat. It was a form of warfare that was both brilliant and terrifying, but why reveal all of this now? Asked Representative Morduk of the Corvash Alliance, President. Kang's expression became serious. Because the galaxy faces threats that require unified response. While we have been observing and protecting known civilization, we have also been exploring beyond the edges of mapped space. We have found things that should concern every thinking being in the universe. New displays showed images from the galactic rim, massive structures that were clearly artificial, but built by no known species. Energy signatures that suggested technologies far beyond even human advancement, and most disturbing of all, evidence that something was methodically destroying civilizations in distant galaxies. "There are older species in the universe," Ciala explained. "Some are benevolent, some are indifferent, and some are actively hostile to younger civilizations like ours. The threats we face cannot be met by any single species, no matter how advanced." She looked around the chamber, making eye contact with representatives from dozens of different worlds. "This is why we are revealing ourselves." 1 year after the Great Revelation, Ambassador Jiho Kim walked through the transformed corridors of the Galactic Council building. The walls that had once displayed only the flags and symbols of the most powerful species now showed representatives from hundreds of civilizations, including many that had been ignored or oppressed under the old system. The council chamber itself had been completely redesigned. Instead of the tiered seating that separated species by power and influence, the new layout featured circular arrangements where every representative could see and speak to every other representative as equals. The central speaking platform had been replaced with a holographic communication system that could translate not just words but emotions and intentions between species with completely different forms of consciousness. Jiho took his seat at the table marked Human Federation, but today he was not alone. Beside him sat representatives from the Maitar Collective, whose crystal bodies chimed with harmonics of peace. Across from him, the plant-like Zilani swayed gently in their mobile gardens. The aquatic Chitani participated through advanced holographic systems that let them remain in their water-filled environments while fully engaging in discussions. These were the species that humanity had secretly protected during the years of isolation. Now they stood as open allies in what President Ciala Kang had called the Galactic Protection Alliance. "The first item on today's agenda," announced Speaker Prime Zulgorak, whose forearms now moved with gestures of cooperation rather than Authority is the report on Outer Rim exploration from Captain Minho Park. Captain Park's image appeared in the center of the chamber, broadcast from his ship at the edge of known space. Behind him, the bridge of his vessel showed a mixture of human and alien crew members working together at stations that incorporated technology from dozens of different civilizations. Honored representatives, Minho began. The Joint Exploration Fleet has completed mapping of the Andromeda Contact Zone. We have discovered 17 new civilizations, 12 of which have requested membership in the Galactic Protection Alliance. The exploration fleets were one of humanity's most successful innovations. Instead of single-species expeditions that often ended in conflict or misunderstanding, the new fleets included representatives from multiple civilizations. When they encountered new species, they could offer immediate translation, cultural guidance, and most importantly, proof that different forms of life could work together peacefully. "What about the concerning energy signatures we detected last month?" asked Representative Clicksynth. Her crystal body ringing with harmonics of worry, Captain Park's expression became serious. "We have confirmed that the structures are artificial and approximately 50,000 years old. They appear to be automated defense systems left by a civilization that no longer exists. Our analysis suggests that they were designed to protect against something that threatened them from outside our galaxy." This was the discovery that had changed everything about galactic politics. Deep space contained evidence of ancient wars fought on scales that dwarfed anything in recorded history. Civilizations that had mastered technologies beyond even human advancement had been completely destroyed by unknown enemies. Dr. Senho Choi materialized as a hologram beside Captain Park. The quantum resonance patterns suggest that whatever destroyed the ancient builders is still active somewhere in the universe. The defense systems are still operational, which means they're still watching for the return of their enemy. A chill seemed to pass through the chamber. Representatives from species that had spent centuries fighting each other over territory and resources suddenly understood how small their conflicts were in the context of cosmic threats. "This is why the new alliance is so important, President," Kong's voice said as her image joined the discussion. "Alone, each of our civilizations would be helpless against threats of this magnitude. Together, we might have a chance to survive and even thrive." Admiral Unisong appeared next, speaking from the command center of the new Joint Fleet headquarters. "The defense preparations are proceeding ahead of schedule. We now have integrated fleets from 47 different species, all using compatible technology and unified command structures. The military transformation had been remarkable. Instead of each species maintaining separate armed forces that often viewed each other as potential enemies, the new system created joint fleets where beings from different worlds served together on the same ships. Human quantum tunnel technology allowed for instant communication and coordination across vast distances, while alien expertise in various fields enhanced every aspect of fleet operations. "What about the Drakari integration program?" asked Ambassador Taeyun Lim. The question brought attention to one of the most surprising developments of the past year. After their defeat and the revelation that their advanced weapons had been designed to fail, the Drakari Empire had undergone a complete political transformation. Former Admiral Krekstar, now serving as the Drakari representative to the Alliance, stood to address the chamber. His warrior's bearing remained, but his aggressive posture had been replaced by something resembling humility. "The Drakari people have learned that strength without wisdom leads only to destruction," he said. "We offer our military experience and our knowledge of aggressive species to help protect civilizations that cannot protect themselves." It was a remarkable change. The species that had once been the galaxy's most feared conquerors were now serving as guardians for peaceful worlds. Their understanding of military tactics and aggressive psychology made them valuable allies in identifying and stopping threats before they could grow dangerous. Engineer the NKO joined the discussion from the massive construction projects in the Epsilon sector. "The new shipyards are producing vessels at a rate that would have been impossible under the old system. By combining human manufacturing technology with fresh crystal engineering, Valkyrie biotechnology and Mordani cybernetics were creating ships that are more advanced than anything any single species could have built alone. The technological revolution had been as important as the political one. Instead of each civilization jealously guarding their scientific advances, the Alliance had created a completely open system of knowledge sharing. Human quantum physics enhanced alien energy systems. Mitar crystalline technology improved communication. Networks, Zelani biological sciences advanced medical treatment. Every species contributed their expertise to create technologies that none of them could have developed alone. But perhaps the most important change was philosophical. Dr. Hanali appeared in the chamber, speaking from the new Galactic Research Institute on the neutral world of Haven. The psychological integration programs have exceeded all expectations. We now have individuals from over 100 different species working together on research projects that require multiple forms of consciousness to solve. The Institute was humanity's answer to the problem of species isolation. Instead of each civilization developing technology based only on their own way of thinking, the new system brought together minds that processed information in completely different ways. The results had been breakthrough discoveries in fields that had been stagnant for centuries. The consciousness bridging project deserves special mention, Dr. Lee continued. We can now create temporary mental links between members of different species, allowing them to directly share thoughts and experiences. The empathy and understanding this creates has eliminated conflicts that seemed impossible to resolve. Agent Boram Shin, now serving as Director of Interspecies Intelligence, nodded approvingly. Crime rates have dropped by 90% in systems where consciousness bridging is available. It's very difficult to harm someone when you can literally feel their pain. The transformation extended beyond government and military affairs into everyday life. Markets where dozens of different species traded freely had replaced the segregated commercial zones of the old system. Schools where children from different worlds learned together were producing a generation that thought of species differences as interesting variations rather than reasons for conflict. Captain Jiwan Nam, commanding the Joint Patrol Fleet that maintained peace throughout Alliance space, reported on the practical results. We haven't had a single interspecies conflict in Alliance territory for 8 months. The few disputes that arise are resolved through mediation rather than force. But the session's most important moment came when a new voice joined the discussion. The holographic image of an ancient being appeared in the chamber, its form shifting between energy and matter in ways that suggested technologies far beyond even the Alliance's capabilities. I am Keeper Valandris of the Eternal Watch, the being said in a voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. We have observed your species' development with great interest. You have accomplished something that we believed impossible. The voluntary unification of young civilizations for mutual protection rather than conquest. The chamber fell completely silent. The Eternal Watch were among the oldest known intelligences in the universe, beings who had transcended physical existence millions of years ago. They rarely communicated with younger species and never interfered in galactic affairs. The ancient defenses that your explorers discovered were built